What is up, everybody? Thank you for stopping back in again. We are on another episode of Behind the Badge, where we take a deep dive into some true crime stories and the life of a police officer. Today, we're going to be talking about how COVID ruined my career. Or did it? I'll let you be the judge of that as we jump on into this. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining back in. I'm so glad you're here. Yes, today's episode, we are talking about how COVID ruined my career, but I'm going to leave the ultimate decision up to you, and you let me know in the comments what you think. Did it ruin it, or did I get blessed? That's up to you to decide. But before we jump on into that, we are quickly approaching 13,000 subscribers on this channel, which absolutely blows my mind. In January of 2024, yes, just a little over a year ago, I was at 52 subscribers, and here we are now. So thank you to every single one of you who watch the content, who subscribe to the channel as well too. We're live streaming all the time, just some great family-friendly, fun video game content. I'd love for you to stop on in sometime. Hit that subscribe button, turn the notifications on as well too. I'm putting out these episodes behind the badge I'm trying to do once every week, going through my career, some true crime stories, what I went through on the job as a police officer and as a police detective and as a tactical flight officer. And then also bringing on some special guests to talk about their perspectives of some different, very important topics that revolve around the military and law enforcement. But whenever you talk to a police officer, it's always good to hear of a very good, funny story about something that happened in patrol or something on the job. So I want to talk to you about a time when I was on first shift and we found a gentleman who was trying to learn how to ride a sport motorcycle, a crotch rocket. And he was in this industrial area where the road dead ended. And my partner and I came upon him as he's trying to do some figure eights and just practice keeping his balance on this brand new, extremely powerful motorcycle. We pull up to him, we talk to him, see what's going on, and then just tell him, be safe, have fun, go get some motorcycle lessons, man. And don't kill yourself out there because those things are very, very dangerous. Fast forward about, say 4, 5, 6 weeks later, we're driving in the morning again. We just got our cup of coffee. Not a lot's going on the radio. We pull up to a red light, and right next to us is that same guy on the same bike. Now, it had a very distinctive paint job, so I recognized it as soon as we pulled up next to him. Hey, what's going on? How's it going? How's the riding going? He's like, oh, I took some lessons. I'm doing so good. I'm doing awesome. And I asked him, I go, hey, can you do a wheelie? And he's like, oh, yeah, I can do a wheelie. The light turns green. He's like, watch this. And again, we're in a fully marked police car. And this guy revs it up, pops a wheelie, and is riding a wheelie down the road with us pretty much right next to him in a police car. And I'm freaking out. Like, we're going to get in trouble. This guy's going to crash. This is not going to be good. We pull up, we speed up. Dude, get down, knock it off, knock it off. He drops the bike down and is looking at us like, that was awesome. I'm like, that was awesome, but don't ever do that again. All the other traffic around us is looking like, what are you going to do? Are you going to pull him over? So we get up to him. We kind of knock it off. Don't ever do that again. And then we just we got to get out of here. We're not going to give this dude a ticket. We kind of antagonized it a little bit. It was absolutely hilarious. It was super dangerous. And we laughed about that. So if my partner, you know who you are, if you watch this video, let me know if you remember that incident, because I'm pretty sure that you do. It was absolutely hilarious. One of those funny ones that you're never going to forget. And that was in probably 2007, maybe 2008. So quite a long time ago. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. So the topic of today's episode is, did COVID ruin my career? So towards the end of my career, as we've talked about in the first episode, is I became a tactical flight officer in the air support unit of our police department. Basically a patrol officer in the aerial platform, whether it be a helicopter or the airplane. You start out in the helicopters, and eventually I was able to move over to the airplanes. The natural transition or progression within the unit is you go to flight school and you become a pilot. Now, I had no aviation experience prior to getting up there, but I was blessed enough and lucky enough to get into the unit and then go to flight school. I made it through flight school. I got my private pilot. I was getting ready for instrument school. Started instrument ground school. I think I did maybe one flight, and this is January of 2021. So take yourself back 4 years ago during the height of the pandemic when everything is going crazy. We're running around looking for toilet paper and ground beef and wondering what's going on, wearing these masks, vaccine, not vaccines, all the stuff that's going on. Trying to still do my job, trying to still go to flight school with all of that absolute craziness that was going on around the world and in our lives. At flight school, a bunch of people came down with COVID, and then I ended up getting COVID as well too in January. I woke up one morning, felt totally fine, go and get a cup of coffee, drink the coffee, and I'm like, this tastes horrible. What is wrong with this? And it immediately struck me, oh no, what just happened? I go over, run to the refrigerator as my kids are eating breakfast. I grab a jar of pickles, I put it up to my nose and I smell it. I don't smell anything. I go get a jar of peanut butter, I smell it. I don't smell a single thing. I try to taste the peanut butter. I don't taste anything. And it's like, I immediately knew that I've got the vid. I've got COVID. And holy crap, what's going to happen now? I quarantined upstairs in the loft. My kids were ended up out of school for a month. It was an absolute mess. And it started out to where I was just sick. That's all it was. I just felt like I had the flu. And then it unfortunately progressively kept getting worse and worse and worse. Breathing was getting tough. The O2 levels were getting tough. I was extremely tired. And then what ended up being the absolute game changer for me as a pilot is I started to get headaches. And these headaches quickly, very quickly, turned into migraines, debilitating migraines. I have never dealt with migraines before. I've had the occasional headache. I have friends who have some of their wives or them themselves deal with migraines, but never had I dealt with it. And holy cow, it was an absolute game changer. I could not function. It completely debilitated me. So that changed. And then behind my ear, I started just to feel this pain. I could tell when the migraine was coming because right behind my ear, it felt like a drill was going through there. And then it started with dizziness. And then it started with vertigo. And it was just insane at how all of this stuff was quickly progressing from this respiratory virus that I had into now affecting me neurologically in a very extreme way as somebody who wanted to be a pilot. Now, if you guys can imagine, it's pretty tough, nearly impossible, absolutely impossible to fly with having vertigo issues, especially when you're in instrument school. You're basically in the clouds and you're flying. You can't have any of those issues where all of a sudden you feel like you're spinning and you're twirling and you get a dizzy spell or have a migraine hit you. For those of you in the aviation, you have the PAVE checklist. And one of those things you got to do in that checklist is to check yourself as the pilot. Am I healthy enough to continue? And I could sit there as I'm home for months on end knowing this is going to hurt my aviation career. Luckily, I had an amazing sergeant, lieutenant, commander, and assistant chief who were there helping me the entire way and were extremely supportive that knowing that I got sick at flight school while I was on the job and how can they help me through this entire process? And if it wasn't for them, it would have really changed, I think, the outcome of how it was. So fast forward, 6, 8, 9 months down the road, I'm still dealing with these migraine issues. I was lucky enough to get hooked up with a physician at a neurological center at a hospital here, and she was an expert in migraines, went through these migraine protocols, and were able to finally get it under control. And by under control, I mean a migraine every couple days is what I was dealing with during the height of it at about 9 months after I got sick originally with COVID. It was nuts. So I go back to work knowing that I'm probably not going to be able to finish flight school. I'm not going to be able to get my medical certificate back to where I can fly. And what am I going to do now? Within the air unit, like I said, the natural progression is to become a pilot. So if you're not a pilot and you're not going to be a pilot, you really can't be in the unit. And I know I was hurting the unit and my squad and knew I had to make a decision. So I never thought in a million years that I'd been retiring at 20 years after a police officer. In my family, we have close to 100 years of law enforcement experience. Nobody retired near 20 years. Everybody did longer. I expected that I was going to do 32 years, max out my pension, still be fairly young, and then retire from there. And then this happened, which completely changes everything. It's a game changer. And so talking with my sergeant, talking with my lieutenant, I realized that, okay, if I can't be a pilot, I'm not going to go back to patrol. What am I going to do? So I decide I'm going to retire. And they supported me the whole way. They helped me get to my 20 years. Now, when I retired from the department in June of 2023, I was still dealing with issues from COVID. My taste and smell was not back 100%. I knew I had this new smell for when something smelled bad. And I couldn't identify it. I couldn't say it's rotten food, it's dog poop, it's something like that. I just knew I had this general smell when something was bad. And I kind of developed that and I kind of learned that. Taste was nowhere near 100%, even 2.5 years after I'd initially got sick. I was still dealing with migraines Every 3, 4, 5 days, I would get hit with one that would just knock me out. Riding an escalator, I would get super dizzy and almost fall over just riding an escalator and an elevator sometimes. So I knew that everything was completely changed for me forever. So I retired. Now that's the blessing that I didn't know at the time, but I quickly learned later on, and something that I was able to teach my kids. And that's that rhetorical question that I was asking earlier is, did it really ruin my career? Or was it a blessing that I didn't know about at the time? So we're now over 4.5 years since I got sick. Taste and smell, still not quite 100% is what I would say. That smell that I initially had, that was when something was bad, I still have it to this day. If something is burning, I still I can identify what the burning smell is, but I know and I've learned that it's a burning smell. Cigarettes is kind of a weird one. I can walk by and I know somebody's smoking, but it doesn't smell like cigarette smoke anymore. It's the weirdest thing on how it completely changed it. And the hard part is I still deal with the headaches and the migraines, and I still can get motion sickness or vertigo very easily. That has not changed. Something completely changed. So kind of the takeaway for this that I did with my kids, and that I had introspectively, I had to look at, and this is how I had to see it as a glass half full. How did I get blessed with this really bad thing that happened to me in my life? Had I have not gotten sick, I would have continued through flight school. I'd have gone through instrument. I'd have gone through commercial. I'd have gone through flight instructor, CFI, double I, and I would have gone all the way through there. And I've been flying for the police department. And who knows where that really would have taken me if I'm honest looking at it, because of all the training and the experience that I've had as a pilot. I would have still been working. I'd have been working 40, 50, 60 hours a week sometimes, depending on what's going on. Missing some stuff at the house, missing events, missing soccer practice, missing football games, things like that I want to be at, but unfortunately I'm scheduled to work and I can only do so much when I'm on shift work. And now I have the ability to be to all of that stuff. I'm not missing any of that. And it has turned out that retirement is the best job that I've ever had. That I wouldn't have been in this position had I not have gone through COVID, and it kind of changed all of that. So did it ruin my career? I guess some people can argue that it did, but it changed it for the better, allowing me to come out on this side of my career, looking at it that the blessing that God had a different plan for me and for my family, that I was going to stay home, take care of the kids, be a stay-at-home dad, and handle all of it this way. And let me tell you, it is so absolutely amazing. And as weird as it is, I'm glad that it happened, because I would never have had this opportunity. Had 20 years to come, June of 2023 had have happened, and I never had gotten sick, retirement would never have been talked about or thought about. I'd have been, okay, I hit 20, now let's keep on going. Now I'm off probation, is kind of how a lot of people joke about it. If you're in police or if you're in fire, once you hit 20 years, you're not on probation anymore. The city's on probation at that point. And I look at it from that perspective. And all of this has come to it as well, too. Like, I would never have started streaming if I never was going to leave the police department. I needed something to do, so I decided I love video games. I've always had a passion for video games, so I decided, let's start streaming. Let's start playing some video games online and just have fun. My kids watched YouTube. They had a couple YouTubers that I allowed them to watch that were family friendly, that was good content. And I said, I want to create content like that for my kids to watch, for their friends to watch, and for me just to have fun and grow a community. And like I've said, we've grown it now where we were at 52. We were at 0, then 52, and now we're almost at 13,000. And it's because of all of you folks right there. So I can't thank you enough for watching the content, for subscribing to the channel, for supporting me and helping me through this journey. There is a lot of things that I can't wait to get into for these different episodes and bringing folks on and talking about all of that. I think it's going to be life-changing for some folks. It's going to be informative for a lot of you out there, and I can't wait to get into all of that. So, like I say all the time, all that I'm trying to do is change the world one video game at a time, especially when we're live streaming. There's so much that we get into. There's so many deep conversations, and it's not all about the video games. It's about building up the community. If you want to come out, hang out, have a good time, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. I'm live streaming during the week all the time. I would love to have you come in and check it out. Let me know how things are going. Folks, stay safe. God bless. Know who's got your six. And I better see you back here tomorrow.